Hi, Miss St. Hilaire is here to help you today. This unit we are learning all about DNA, and today is about the structure of DNA. So it's a little bit difficult to remember, so we have a song that's going to help you remember it. I actually sang this song in high school, and now it's going to help you to remember the structure of DNA. So we are going to sing it for you.
Okay.
We love DNA made of nucleotides, sugar, phosphate, and a base bonded down each side. Adenine and thymine make a lovely pair. Cytosine without guanine would feel very bare. Excellent. I hope you remember that, and then we're going to continue with the podcast.
So in this unit, we're going to be talking about DNA. So what I have right here is a model of DNA. Now, the thing that you have to remember about DNA, and we will be singing the DNA song to help you remember the structure, but DNA is a double helix, so it kind of looks like a ladder that's twisted up. So that's why, as I spin this, you can see that it's two strands, and it's joined in the middle with these rungs on the ladder. So remember the words to the DNA song: sugar, phosphate, and a base. So this right here, and you can look at it in the class, it has a D on it. That's deoxyribose. That's your sugar. This ribbon that holds them together is your phosphate backbone. And then the bases are the blue, yellow, green, and red. And those are adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. And they pair in a particular way. Remember, adenine and thymine make a lovely pair. Cytosine without guanine would feel very bare. So that's the structure of a DNA molecule. So you're going to want to remember that as you're going through this podcast.
So what you just saw was a model of DNA. So what I'm going to do with you today is I'm going to go through the actual structure of DNA. So the proper name for DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid, which is kind of a mouthful. But if you look and break it down, you have the letters D, N, A. Now, DNA was discovered in the 1950s by James Watson and Francis Crick. You already know this. And it's made of what are called nucleotides. Now, nucleo goes with nucleus. So nucleotides found in the nucleus. So DNA is made of stuff that's found in the nucleus. So what is a nucleotide? Well, a nucleotide has three parts. The first part is a sugar, and the sugar's name is deoxyribose. That's where the deoxyribo comes from in DNA. It's from the sugar. It's got a phosphate group, and it's got a nitrogenous base. Now, which sounds kind of weird, but, just think of the DNA song. We love DNA made of nucleotides, sugar, phosphate, and a base bonded down each side. So that's the three parts of a nucleotide. So here is a nucleotide. This orange area here is your phosphate. Your sugar, deoxyribose, is in the middle. And then your base, now here your base looks like a rectangle, but really it's going to be different shapes depending on which base it is, because there are 4 different bases that there could be. But here's your sugar, phosphate, and a base. And they get bonded down the side, actually, phosphate, sugar, the phosphate's joined to the sugar, and this makes their backbone. It's a sugar-phosphate backbone. And then the bases are in the middle, making up the rungs of the ladder. Now, there's different types of nucleotides. Like I said, there's 4 different bases that you can have, so the type of nucleotide you have depends on which base you have. So one is called purines, which are adenine and guanine. And here is their phosphate group, and here's the sugar. And then the base part has 2 rings, one there and one there. So, purine. The other type is pyrimidine, or a single ring base. And those are cytosine and thymine. Now, when you look at this picture here, this is showing uracil switching back and forth with thymine. And we'll talk about that later, but in RNA, you don't have thymine, you have uracil instead. And they're really, really similar. It's just that one replaces the other in RNA. So they have just a single ring here where the other one has double ring. So the way I remember this is purines have a short name. The way I remember this is purines have a short name, but a big structure, and pyrimidines have a big name but a small structure. So they're like opposites. Now, a couple more things about DNA. When DNA forms its double helix, remember it looks like a twisted ladder, you're going to have the nucleotides held together, and the bases are going to be held together by hydrogen bonds. Now, we talked about hydrogen bonds earlier this year, and you learned that a hydrogen bond is kind of a weaker bond, but the thing is that when you have thousands of DNA bases all being bonded together, those thousands of tiny bonds make a really strong link. So, base pair. What's a base pair? Well, the nucleotides have certain partners that they always bond with. Remember, adenine and thymine make a lovely pair, and cytosine without guanine would feel very bare. So base pairs are bases that always bond with each other. So they're actually lined up so that their hydrogen bonds fit together. So those are the individual parts of DNA, but what does the whole structure look like? Well, the whole structure is called a double helix. And the double part comes from having two strands of nucleotides. And they wind around each other. So it kind of looks like a ladder that's twisted. And along the sides, you have the phosphates forming the backbone. So now you're going to want to sketch this. And when you look over here on the drawing, here's your base pairs being held together. And see how the blue and the yellow always pair, and the green and the orange always pair? Those are the base parts of your nucleotides. But the sugar and phosphates are forming this backbone that goes along the edge. So that's your phosphate backbone. And if you're having trouble sketching the DNA, there's a pretty simple way to do it. Take your pen and just make a wavy line. And then make a wavy line going the opposite direction. And then just draw little like ladder rungs going back and forth. And you've sketched DNA.
So in this unit, we're going to be talking about DNA. Oh yeah, I scratched my head. Cut.
Okay, giggle. Laugh.
Yeah. Deal with it.